Hello, teachers, and welcome to Teaching in the Shark Tank. First and foremost, thank you very much for purchasing my STEM labs and beginning or continuing to integrate STEM into your classroom. This video is going to go over how you are able to assign these digital labs through Google Classroom as an alternative to printing out the lab pages. This will help build technical literacy and support students with accommodations, such as students who thrive best when using speech-to-text and/or spell check. In addition, it is of course the environmentally friendly option. To begin, I have always kept my labs organized in a section of my Google Drive under STEM. First, I organize it by standard or overall concepts such as kinetic and potential energy. Then, each lab has its own folder. This way, it makes it very easy for me to locate the lab that I wish to assign and find the needed materials ahead of time. In this case, I am going to be showing us how to assign our Candy Catapults lab. So once I'm under the folder, I am easily able to access the digital lab and the digital key. Now that I know where everything is, I can actually start to assign this project on Google Classroom. I should first say that this video assumes that you already have your own Google Classroom. If you do not, please check out my other video on how to set up a Google Classroom. Now, if you are ready to move forward, then you can start assigning the digital lab by first clicking on the tab that says Classwork. Then click on the blue or green or orange button at the top, depending on what your theme is, that has a plus sign and says Create. We are going to choose Create Assignment. The first thing that we are going to include is our title for our lab. Since our lab is called Candy Catapults, that is what I'm going to label. Once you have your title listed, you can start to type the instructions below. I like to keep the instructions the exact same for every single STEM lab because it is becoming a systematic process in my classroom. Every single Thursday, the students know exactly what they are going to be doing and what is expected of them. First, they will all be assigned a partner. So they will find that partner or small group to create a blueprint for whichever lab that we are doing. In this case, it is the catapult. Then they will have to check in with their teachers for their materials. After, they will build their catapult using the accountable talk cards to help the students work out possible challenges. If you are interested in these accountable talk cards, there is a lesson plan and printouts that are available on my Teachers Pay Teachers website. Once they have built the catapults, you should have a launching zone designated in your classroom so that your students are not building and launching at the same time. This is for safety purposes. Then they can be recording their observations on their digital lab as they see them instead of doing it afterwards. If we allow students to record afterwards, their observations will not be very accurate. Then, after completing the 3 trials, they should be cleaning up their own space by putting extra materials in the designated STEM bins, trash in the trash cans, and placing their prototype on whichever designated counter you have chosen. The reason why I like to have the students show off their projects in the back is for students who are struggling with their catapult or their prototype are able to take a look and get ideas from their classmates. It is not cheating, I like to say. It is simply using their resources. Finally, if students are finishing up early, they can head back to their desk and work on reflection questions while they wait for next steps from their teachers. This way, you as a teacher can try to keep everybody on the same pace. Now that you have started to set your expectations, it's time to actually attach the lab. Below the instructions, you have many options to attach a document. We are going to choose the first option, which says Drive. Since I have been working with this lab recently, it is popping up under my recents. However, if it does not pop under your recents, that is totally okay. click on My Drive, and then go to your lesson plans and your STEM folder, potential kinetic energy, candy catapults, until you find your lab. You are going to be able to find this lab however you choose to organize your Google Drive. This is how I choose to organize mine. Once you have clicked on the correct lab, make sure it is not the key, you can click Add. The important part is right next to the Candy Catapults lab, there is an option for you to click on Students can view file, students can edit file, or make a copy for each student. Please choose the very last option so that each student gets their own lab. Now that you have stated your expectations and attached the document, it's time for the minor details. All of my labs are worth 10 points, so you can always go straight to 10 points. For when it is due, I have it due the same day that I assign it. And this is because it is very difficult for children to remember, analyze, and observe after the lab has been completed. I always do my STEM labs on Thursdays because that is how it works out best in my personal schedule. So as a result, I'm going to have it due also on that Thursday. To help my students with organization, I also have it listed under the topic of STEM. If I am ready to assign the lab, I can go ahead and click the button that says Assign in the top right-hand corner. Or I can click the caret to the right and schedule it for when I want it to be released. For example, today is Monday, but I know that I'm going to want to have it released on Thursday. So I'm going to choose Thursday during our STEM time, which is at 11:30 a.m. Make sure that you have your AM or your PM correct. Then, once you are ready, you can hit schedule and Google will take care of the rest. Once this STEM lab has actually posted, so in this case it will be on June 5th at 11:30 a.m., the students will be able to actually click on the lab and interact with it. For more information on how your students can interact with my digital labs, please check out my other videos in my how-to series. After you have taught the lesson and given students ample time to complete their work, you can go under your classwork and view your assignment. At the top, you have two options: to review your instructions and to review student work. Click on student work to begin grading. You can absolutely use the same key that was provided for the Candy Catapults lab printout version. It is based on a point award system. For example, they get a point if they've completed the blueprint with labels. They get a point if they have completed the vocabulary. This student decided to write down instead of drag and drop, which is okay in my opinion. I would still provide that student the points. Then to keep track of the score, I would add the points there. Once I have finished grading, I'm ready to put it in the gradebook and release the grade so that my students can see what they've received. Thank you very much for listening and viewing my how-to series on how to assign digital labs. If you have any questions or advice on how I can improve this video, please feel free to send me an email or drop a comment. Thank you so much and have a great rest of your day.